But let's start with the situation in Jammu and Kashmir. As I said, my colleague Barkha Dutt is there in Srinagar. Barkha, fewer incidents of violence today, at least from what the reports which we've got. It also seems to be a complete curfew.
Well, Vikram, I think in the big picture, everybody will be heaving a big sigh of relief that it's been a day that's gone off without any major incident of violence. This, of course, after a controversial, but some say completely needed decision to bring in the army. 17 columns of the army deployed at the crack of dawn. This coming after overnight consultations that went on between the state and the central government that was initially, sections of it were reluctant to bring in the army. And here on the ground, as we drove through Srinagar today, Vikram, we saw a city that was literally barren, devoid of all life, a curfew being enforced extremely strictly now, the army being brought in after a spate of fresh violence, claimed 4 civilian lives just yesterday, and after Chief Minister Omar Abdullah was just adamant that it was time to now deploy the last line of defense. But here in Srinagar, Vikram, what everybody is saying is after the army, what next? And the answer is uniform. After the army has to come a revival of the political process.
Srinagar, still, empty, almost lifeless. A deceptive quiet cloaking the dark storms that have hit the valley. A city that wonders when the clouds may pass and when the sun may shine again. A city that is now under the watchful eye of the Indian Army. 17 columns of the army were called onto the streets at the crack of dawn after a week of fragile peace was ripped open by a fresh spate of civilian deaths in clashes between protesters and security forces just yesterday. A grim chief minister then worked the phone lines to Delhi and made it clear now was the time to use the last line of defense. And despite some serious reservations at the centre about the political symbolism of using yet more force to handle the simmering anger, eventually it was a thumbs up from New Delhi.
It may be a politically bad decision, but it is for the benefit of the people, it is benefit of the state, and we don't want everyday killings.
Aware of the sensitivity, the army's mandate is only to be a deterrent against a worsening security situation. The army, sources made it clear, would not be used for crowd control or in crowded inner city neighborhoods where it could come into direct confrontation with protesters. Instead, soldiers would keep an eye from the periphery, but with the aim of sending a strong message that the priority right now was to restore law and order and bring down tempers. But is this a move fraught with even more dangers and risks? Can it address the upsurge of anger on the ground? The opposition says this move should never have happened.
Today, it seems that there is total failure of the government, the political process on all fronts. But that's why the army has been called, and it's not going to help in any way, but it's definitely going to add further to the alienation of the people. This is not a right decision, according to me.
Ironically, the Chief Minister himself has said that the recent unrest underlines the failure of a political process in the valley and also the urgent need to revive a domestic dialogue.
Would you concede that what has happened is at least partially the result of the failure of a political dialogue, a political process within Jammu and Kashmir?
Absolutely. That is, I think, the single largest factor today is that people don't see a light at the end of the dark tunnel that they were hoping to see. And until we address it politically, we will always have a problem here, regardless of who happens to occupy the Chief Minister's office in the Secretariat.
For New Delhi, which till last month was measuring normalcy in the valley in terms of the numbers of tourists flooding the valley, this could and should be a wake-up call. Today, of course, as this man told us, even tourists like him could not make it into the city without trouble. A reminder perhaps that the balm Kashmir needs will have to be political in the end.
Tuba.com